They tried to touch her at the party. Single dad came from nowhere like a shield. The music was loud, the lights were low, and laughter filled the room, but her heart was pounding for a different reason. In a crowded house where everyone seemed carefree, she suddenly felt very, very alone. She had come to the party hoping for a fresh start. What she didn't expect was the moment when kindness would arrive in the form of a stranger, stepping in like a shield when she needed it most. Before the story begins, take a second to support heartfelt moments. If stories about kindness, courage, and unexpected goodness move you, please subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us keep bringing meaningful stories to life. Her name was Emily, and at 26, she was still learning how to trust the world again. Life hadn't been easy. After a difficult breakup and months of keeping to herself, she finally agreed to go to a friend's birthday party. It was supposed to be simple, just music, snacks, and familiar faces. A reminder that life could still be normal. At first, everything felt fine. Emily stood near the kitchen island, holding a plastic cup and smiling politely. People laughed, danced, and told stories. She tried to relax. She told herself she belonged there. Then it started to change. A couple of men she didn't know began standing too close. At first, she thought she was imagining it. Parties were crowded, after all. But their jokes became uncomfortable. Their eyes lingered too long. One brushed past her arm in a way that didn't feel accidental. Emily stepped back, her smile fading. She tried to move toward the living room, but they followed. Her chest tightened. She didn't want to make a scene. She didn't want to seem dramatic. So she stayed quiet, hoping they'd get bored and leave. They didn't. One of them leaned in, his voice too close to her ear. Another blocked her path. Emily felt her throat close up. Her heart raced. She scanned the room, searching for someone, anyone, who might notice. That's when he appeared. Across the room stood a man in his early 30s, tall, with tired eyes and a calm presence. His name was Mark. He was a single dad who had stopped by the party briefly because his sister begged him to come. He hadn't even wanted to stay long. He had babysitter guilt and an early morning ahead. But something caught his attention. Mark noticed Emily's body language, the way her shoulders curled inward, the forced smile, the subtle steps backward. As a father to a young daughter, he recognized fear when he saw it. He didn't hesitate. He walked straight toward her. Without raising his voice or causing a scene, Mark stepped between Emily and the men. His posture was firm, protective, and steady. He didn't touch anyone. He didn't threaten. He simply stood there, solid and unmovable. "Hey," he said calmly, looking at Emily. "There you are. I've been looking for you." Emily blinked, confused, but she understood. She nodded instantly. "Oh, yeah," she said softly. Mark turned slightly toward the men, his voice still even. "She's with me." Something in his tone made it clear the conversation was over. The men muttered excuses and drifted away, suddenly uninterested. Just like that, the pressure lifted. Emily let out a shaky breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. Her hands trembled. Mark noticed. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. She nodded, then shook her head, tears filling her eyes. I think so. Thank you." They stepped outside onto the porch where the noise faded into the background. Cool air brushed her face. Emily finally felt like she could breathe again. "I didn't know what to do," she admitted. "I didn't want to make a scene." "You don't have to," Mark said. "You didn't do anything wrong." Those words hit her harder than she expected. They talked for a few minutes. Mark told her about his daughter, about how becoming a dad changed the way he saw the world. He said he hoped someone would do the same for his child one day if she ever needed help. Emily listened, feeling something warm settle in her chest. "You didn't have to step in," she said. "I know," he replied. "But kindness isn't about having to. It's about choosing to. Before leaving, Mark made sure Emily had friends around her and felt safe. He didn't ask for her number. He didn't expect anything. He simply smiled and said, "Take care." And then he was gone. That night, Emily went home with a different feeling than the one she arrived with. The fear had faded, replaced by gratitude. One small act of kindness had reminded her that good people still existed, that not everyone looks away. Weeks later, Emily found herself doing the same for someone else. At a coffee shop, she noticed a young woman being spoken to harshly, clearly uncomfortable. Emily stepped closer, asked if she knew her, and stayed until the tension eased. In that moment, she understood something powerful. Kindness spreads. Mark probably didn't think much of what he did. To him, it was just the right thing at the right time. But to Emily, it was a turning point, a reminder that strangers can become protectors, and that courage doesn't always shout. Sometimes, it simply shows up and stands firm. In a world that often feels rushed and disconnected, moments like these matter. They remind us that paying attention, stepping in, and choosing kindness can change someone's entire night, or even their life. So if you ever notice someone who looks uncomfortable, scared, or alone, remember this story. You don't need to be loud. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to care. Because sometimes, being kind means becoming a shield, and that kind of kindness can echo far beyond the moment itself.